Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Season 3 of the Rule 34 podcast. I'm Jack, joined by
Dominic Castillo.
And Giovanni.
Alright, so we are back here today on Thursday. How have you guys been?
I have been pretty okay so far. As of recently, work has been okay. But now we've come to a sort of a bit of a vacation time for all of us, a period where we could all just rest for a bit, for a good week, because the Lakers won against the Timberland Wolves, or those guys, and we were able to not get work. However, for the side of Gio, in terms of his paycheck, we both all feel like there is some sort of errors at hand, because for some whatever reason, we pretty much work the same amount of days, but I get pretty much an entire double amount of what he makes within 2 weeks. So we feel like there has to be an uprising in, I don't know, I guess our fighting, helping out Gio with checks, because I feel like he doesn't get tipped. But that's life sometimes. Other than that, I'm currently living life. I'm also trying to play Gran Turismo 7. I'm still trying to finish the final super licenses, and it's one of the most difficult things I've ever had to endure. Each race takes about 2 hours just to get the gold medal. 2 hours, and it's not easy, man. It ain't easy, man. But yeah, man. Life's okay at the moment. It's slow, but it's okay.
All right. How about you?
It takes us 2 hours to get one win in Overwatch.
Yes.
We're both suffering in a way. Anyways, yeah. Life's been good. Like Dominic mentioned, we were able to see the Lakers win. That 3-pointer from Dennis Schroeder was insane. Yeah, I was really hyped up when I went in, because I was like, oh yes, they won, and there was only 0.1 of a second left. There's no way they're bringing this back. No, there was 7 seconds left, and then Anthony Davis lost his brain for a minute there, and committed a foul that gave the Wolves 3 points, three free throws, and the guy scored all 3, and then they went into overtime. But in overtime, they won pretty easily. It wasn't much of a contest. Our defense was really good. The Wolves were making a lot of mistakes. But yeah, it was nice. It was cool to see that live. Besides that, as Dominic mentioned again, the pay this time around was unbelievably shocking, because I don't know, an $800 difference is too much, in my opinion. I get it, it's $200, $300. And I was like, oh yeah, because he worked the extra day and he got maybe a little bit more tips than I did. That's okay. But $800, that's, whoa, something went wrong. So I made sure to send an email to Gabby. She's in charge of our payroll, for my login information and whatnot. And then she said that she was going to investigate and let me know as soon as possible her findings. So hopefully those findings come positive, or in my favor, and I get whatever money I'm missing. And if they don't, I'm seriously going to consider quitting that job, because that's BS. But yeah, Jack, how you been, man?
I've been doing pretty well. There was something I was gonna say and I already blanked out on it, but I've just been, like Dom said, living life. I've been watching just I've been watching a ton of games from the Phillies, so much so that I made a tracker for what games I watched this season, because last season I watched a couple games, but I didn't watch a lot, so I want to actually start watching more of the games. So I started keeping a record of what games have I watched so far this season, I've been doing pretty good. I've only missed like a couple games. Yesterday's game was, oh man, I can't wait to get into that game later on. But like, it was a tough like watch to see how they lost, and it was also just very annoying that like I don't know, man. Like the rules that the MLB has been coming up with lately have been really weird, even to like someone like me who's like like getting really into baseball. But I know about baseball, especially because I spent all my like childhood, like growing up until like a certain age, like playing it. So like I've known about baseball like all my life pretty much. And so to see them come up with these rules that really just are real confusing because of the fact that like it's changing, and like that's something common you hear is that, oh, baseball fans don't want the game to change. But like, it's not that they don't want the game to change, it's that anytime they try and change the game, they change almost everything like that was unique about baseball. Like, I don't mind the pitch clock. It has its pros and cons, especially if you want to speed up games, because like there is somewhat of an issue of like, I mean, I don't know if you would call it an issue, because some of these other sports go almost the same about, but like it has its pros and cons that people bring up. But the rule that was on display yesterday just makes absolutely no sense to me. I mentioned it yesterday, but like I'll explain it here to you guys just because I really do want to hear what your guys' opinion is, like as outsiders to this sport. So the game was tied, and they headed into extra innings, just like any other game. Basketball going into overtime, football going into overtime, and so I'm like, okay, we're going into extra innings, and they went to commercials, and at the same time, I think we were played, so I wasn't paying too much attention. And they come back from commercials, and I look, and there's a guy on second base, and I'm like, and the Marlins are up to bat. That's the team we're facing, and I'm like, we just came back from commercial. When the heck did someone have a chance to get on second? Like, did they forget to switch back to the feed and the guy hit a double or something? But no, apparently the rule now when heading into extra innings is that a runner is automatically placed on second base for extra innings. And so the Marlins were able to get I think it was like a base hit, I forgot what it was, and the guy scored, and then the Phillies came up, and they're, to be fair, they're given the same chance of someone on second, and they end up getting 3 outs on the Phillies, and that's how the game loses. And that's the thing that really sort of annoys me about it, is like they do this whole thing of, oh, we'll do it for both teams so it's fair, but like, in what universe does it make sense to give any team a free runner, to give them a runner on second? And the reason why it's so baffling to me is, if you guys obviously don't know baseball, a runner on second is basically in scoring position. You get a good enough hit, they can go from second all the way to home and get you a run and get you a score. So to automatically place someone on second is just baffling to me, because it's the equivalent of going into overtime and the NFL is like, oh, each team starts at the 50-yard line, and like I don't. It's really hard to equate, but like that's the only thing I can really think of. Like, oh, each team starts at the 50-yard line. In basketball, what would the equivalent be in basketball? Man, I don't know what the equivalent would be in basketball. It's a pretty tough one to compare. But like that's the weird thing to me, is that like they made this rule where, and again, because they're like, oh, both teams get it, so it's like fair in a way. But like, it's just kind of dumb to think that like they would do something like that where you get a free runner, and it's like, why are we giving these teams stuff for free? The whole point of going into overtime is to see, essentially what teams are I almost want to like what teams are properly built, in a sense, because like, or like what teams are properly assembled to be able to, keep it going even the extra distance when they go extra innings. Like when it comes to like basketball, for example, what players are built like built different enough, stamina wise, endurance wise, to be able to play, those 5 or like those, what I forget how long overtime is, but like let's say like those 5-7 extra minutes of like high intensity basketball, just pure back and forth, even more intense than the previous 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense because when it comes to soccer, it would be kind of it would be very ridiculous if, like, at the start of extra time, each team got a free penalty, and then whoever, like, if one team scores, another one doesn't, they're immediately one up. That would be ridiculous. It makes no sense. And I do agree with you. Like, the whole point of, like, going overtime is to see who is the better team going the distance. Because if you, like, the only sport that I really know is soccer. So when they go into soccer, it's 2 15-minute halves. So after playing 90 minutes, an hour and a half, you have to go for another half hour. And those half hours are supposed to determine which team has, like, the better stamina, which manager can rotate his players the best to, keep the team's energy healthy throughout the entire thing. It wouldn't be fun to watch if, like, one team just gets a free point and then the other team can't, just because they can't produce the same result, they lose. That makes no sense. It should just be how it was before, where both teams it's literally just extra innings, and whichever team can produce the most amount of points wins. That's fair. It's like they won those points. Getting a runner on second base for free that's dumb. Like, it kills the fun. I get that. I guess it's to, like, speed games up so it doesn't go into like the 24th inning. But still, it's kind of like,
yeah, and I get, like, like you're saying, the whole thing of, like, my suspicion is that it's the whole thing of wanting to shorten games and all that. And the thing that's confusing to me is that, like, I need to, like, really look into, like, the statistics well, but, like, I don't think I've heard anything about, like, baseball in the sense of, like, the longer these games go, the more at risk you are of, like, an injury per se,
mm-hmm.
like in the NBA or, like, like in football. Like, I remember, I don't know if it was last season or the season before, but there was a game where the Ravens, they could have just tied the game and gone into overtime, but they went for 2, and the reason they gave was because, all their cornerbacks on defense were getting injured, and they didn't want to risk another one getting injured, because if someone went down, they wouldn't have anyone else to play. So that's why they went for 2 and didn't, try and force overtime. But I've never heard of anything in baseball, especially considering the fact that that's the whole point of, or like they have, in terms of like the pitcher, let's say, that's the whole, they have different roles for pitcher, and that's the whole point for relief and closer pitchers who come in for, like, those final innings,
Mm-hmm.
like, and you can swap as many guys as you want. Like, if I remember correctly, I know it, or I don't remember if it did go into extra innings, but, like, I remember game 1 of the World Series, I believe it was, you saw, like, the Phillies use, like, almost every bullpen pitcher they had just to win that game. I think it was that one, or was it the NLCS? I don't remember, but, like, there was a game where it was like they swapped pitchers like 3-4 different times in the span of like 1.5 innings, I want to say, so it's like that, like, there's stuff in play to prevent, injuries, and then, like, the whole thing of just maybe, like, shortening the game kind of just misreads, their audience in a way. Like, they're trying to draw in a new audience by changing all this stuff, but, like, by doing that, you're sort of losing the appeal of the game in a way, you know?
It gets rid of like the competitiveness. If it's just both teams are, it gets rid of the intensity because if both teams are like head to head, they're tied the last inning, and then at the next inning they get a free point if they hit a good enough ball, and it's like oh, all of that just to end it this way. It's kind of what's the point of that? And then I was gonna say something else. Damn. I don't remember.
What's it called?
I remember. Is it for every? Let's say if the extra inning, it goes 2-2. None of them score. They go to the next. Is it like for every single extra inning? There's always a runner on second, or is it just for the first one?
Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure it's for every extra inning. If let's say the Phillies scored that one run in and then they got out and they won again, I'm pretty sure it would have happened again, which, you know, that's kind of like, it is kind of confusing. Let's see. Hold on, wait, let me do this. But, let's see. Yeah, a runner will be placed on second to begin the 10th inning and in every subsequent extra inning after that until a winner is determined.
That's a very interesting rule. It's kind of it's unique in its way because I think it's the only sport that has something like that. I could be wrong because my knowledge on sports is very limited, but I've never heard of something like that ever happening.
Well, this is apparently like recently new. I think they tried it out like last season, and now they fully implemented it this season. Cause and the funny thing is, like, my dad called up one of my uncles to talk about it, and you know, my dad was like, I don't remember ever seeing that happen in a game last season, but maybe we just missed some of the games where the Phillies went into OT. But like, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, at least, you know. Like, there may be people who are able to explain, but like, it just doesn't make sense to put someone on base. And I know you aren't guaranteed that runner scores. Like, your players have to be able to come up and actually make a hit, which is what the Marlins did and the Phillies couldn't. But it just sort of annoys me in a way that, like, why are we giving them that freebie? You know, why are we giving both teams that freebie? You know, a player's ability to get on base is a huge factor that, like, you know, that is the reason why some players even get signed, you know, because of their ability to get on base so frequently. And so the fact that, like, you're basically telling teams, hey, you know how, like, you're constructing your teams to really, or, like, you know, you're really rewarding, you know, some of these players, you know, you're giving them these big contracts because of their abilities. And, you know, especially their highlight ability being to get on base. Well, you know, we're eliminating, you know, that whole factor by just giving you a free guy on base, you know. Like, I don't know if that makes sense, but, like, it just kind of annoys me. And then it's like you said, it kind of removes the competitive aspect from it all. And I'm really hoping when the postseason comes around this year that they really take out the pitch clock, because that one's going to be that one's really going to take away the big moments of the playoffs, you know? Mm-hmm. Especially, like, those long, drawn-out moments where it's, like, it really starts to build the tension of, like, you know, it's like the pitcher really taking his time to figure out what pitch he wants to throw. The batter, you know, really getting in the zone and all that, you know? It's like, I really just hope that they tweak the play clock when the postseason comes around, because you really don't want certain moments eliminated.
Imagine if the NBA had like a silly rule like that, like whoever has the ball in OT starts off with one less player, so it's 4v5. Like, what would be the point of that?
Yeah, or to, like, for the first play of overtime, you're allowed to have 6 players on the court.
Yeah. You just get, like, a significant advantage over the other team.
Yeah. What do you think, Dom, before we move on? What do you think?
I just think overall, giving the chance, like the upper chance at the last minute to any other team in any sport, really, I just feel like it just cheeses out like the potential like chances of the other team just winning last second when the other team was initially winning would be the one to be projected, which can completely alter just like everything that can happen in the future in terms of a team success, in terms of uh, how would you say it, like the team's I guess projected future in terms of game winnings and like tournaments and championships and then world championships and all that stuff, which I just don't like at all. This the situation that you're noting about baseball, I feel like is also very cheese, and I just don't know why such things are implemented. Even for the losing team, there's a reason why they're losing, and just to up them up with how would you like penalty calls or like all that sort of things to I guess give them the upper hand, regardless if in quotation marks if the ref is being paid off to I guess give the losing team a winning chance, but it just ruins the fun in terms of the competitive nature of just any sport in general when the losing team is given the I guess the winning chance, which what I don't like at all. I mean, even with what happened with the Lakers the last game that they played, there were some calls thrown at LeBron, which were just kind of just unfair. Like I don't watch basketball often, I'll be honest with you, but I just felt like some of the calls were just way unfair and just very niche, like very niche to the point where like just the refs just give the call just to give the call, I guess, because I guess they're following the rules, but the rest of the audience clearly never liked it. At some point, the audience members always just they hate on the ref to the point where they start chanting like "Ref, you suck! Ref, you suck!" Gio was there; he wouldn't.
It's like the play where I think it was either LeBron or so, like a Laker lost possession of the ball, and the ball went running back to like our side of the court, and LeBron like dived for it, but just because he hit the other person while he was diving, it was considered a personal foul.
Exactly.
That's not really. I mean, I guess, but that's like he didn't. It's like not he dived into him. It's like it just happened to be that way. It shouldn't be considered a personal foul just because he happened to hit him. Also, Jack, this is an interesting question. If this rule stays, do you think teams will now start signing players to fit that role specifically? Like they just signed the fastest guy they can find so that he could get from second or third. Then that's literally his only job. Like he could be really bad at batting or I don't know, being an outfield player, but just because he's fast, he's on the team.
I'm trying. They mentioned something in yesterday's game, but I can't remember. They might have said something about because I think that could be something we see, but at the same time they mentioned something that like which player goes up there, I think. Because like I can't remember if it was just like the player who was like last or like was up next in the lineup when the previous inning whatever team got struck out or got 3 outs on. I can't remember what they said, and it's not showing me here like in the rule. But like if it is just the team designates whoever goes up, then you're easily gonna see teams like doing that, putting their fastest player out there every single time. And I don't know, that's the thing that really I forget who was on base for us, but the thing that really, really annoyed me about yesterday's game for the Phillies was what's it called? Sorry, I'm trying to fill the dead air while I pull this up, but I don't remember who was on base. But what I do know is that in that the 10th inning, because we went to extra innings. In that 10th inning, it was very annoying that Bryson Stott and Trey Turner were two of the guys who went up to bat. The first guy who went up, he struck out, or no, he hit a fly ball, so that was like one out. But Bryson Stott and Trey Turner went up, and Bryson Stott struck out. Turner hit a ground ball to shortstop, he flied out to shortstop, would end of the game. And I only bring this up because those two guys are like two of our like best hitters, and not even like home run wise, but like base hitting. You know, like the one that, you know, a hit that gets them on base, that, you know, gets people who are already on base to move to the next base or even score. And yet neither of them really could have really got anything going. And it's like, it just kind of annoyed me in a sense watching that. Like, this is not me not only blaming the rule, but blaming the team for how they played also. You know, because I gotta hold my team accountable. It just really annoyed me that it was like, dude, you this is your specialty, both of you, to be able to drive someone in home, and you couldn't do it, you know? That's what really annoyed me. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I gotta see it more in play, but like also that's rare that you see it more in play, because I want to say it's really kind of rare that some of these like teams go into OT, but yeah, I don't know. Just gotta kind of move on from it. Yeah, but yeah, I really don't like the overtime rules. But moving on from that, well, I was going to come up with transition, but it was going to be too cheesy. I was going to say, speaking of overtime rules, Overwatch. But
yeah, that would have been really bad.
Yeah, but let's move on to Overwatch, because that's something new as the new season came out. And we played it yesterday. We had a decent session. What do you guys think of the new season so far?
I think Life Weaver theme's a bit dull on the very few games that I played. To be fair, I only played them for a few games, but on the games that I did, it was very confusing. His kit is very confusing. His healing is very slow and boring. And I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of his character. Brig though, Brig's new rework, she's so much fun. Like, she was fun before, but it was harder to, use her with the current metas. But I feel like now with the current meta, if it even exists, I feel like it's very, very easy to use her, or easier, I should say. I was having a lot of fun with Brig yesterday. Her ult is really cool. You have to be really careful when you use your bash, because if you use it as soon as you pop ult, it'll come very close because of the cooldown. So I think you have to use it wisely. It's not something that you could spam. So, and I don't know, just being able the stun is really helpful too, to get, important picks. Is there anything else? The battle pass skins are kind of cool. The Sigma skin is obviously the best one, being the, what is it called? Mythical? The mythical skin. Gameplay wise, it felt very boring yesterday because of who we were facing. Because there's a whole issue with rank at the moment because they messed up on the reset. So certain players are not where they need to be. So then that just kind of like complicates things for us. Because we went up against a bunch of Ashes that were really good. Genjis that just wouldn't die. Mercy Pockets. Even though she got nerfed, it's still impossible to kill someone who's being Mercy Pocketed. But the cool thing is that all the maps are back. So we could play on Gibraltar again. Gibraltar's our best map, in my opinion. We played really well on that map. But yeah, overall it's pretty nice. Hopefully all the content that's coming later on in the season kind of hypes up the season a bit more. Because right now it's not that. I don't know. So Lifeweaver being what he is, just isn't as fun as I thought it would be.
What about you, Dom?
I haven't played too much. I mean, I played with you guys yesterday. It was fun. What wasn't fun are the losses. And honestly, I don't know. I rarely ever really notice like the changes in terms of when it comes to reworks. Like yesterday, I was told by a good friend of ours, Diego, that Mercy got a nerf, and apparently she was worse off than she was before. But I'll be honest, I don't really notice much of these reworks. I mean, I would assume like percentage wise, it's like a couple percentages where like I guess they drop where they used to be in terms of I guess healing and damage output, or you know I guess in terms of like seconds for the cooldown for her abilities or her ultimate. But other than that, I guess this season doesn't really change much things. The new healer, I guess. I'll be honest. The new healer wasn't really, I guess, up to standard in terms of how Blizzard can implement like crazy new, like I guess, creative abilities for new heroes, and it's just I don't know. It felt bland. It's just I mean, we did need a new healer because I feel like we you know more variety for healers would definitely be the way to go, but it just didn't feel the way you know. This didn't feel the best that Blizzard could do, you know, if that makes sense. But well, you know, it is what it is. We got what we got. Obviously, it's locked behind the paywall, obviously, because, you know, obviously they need the money. But it's fun so far, I guess. The couple wins that we got were pretty, you know, were decent. I enjoyed those. Those were pretty fun. The many losses that we've concurred, on the other hand, some were honest losses. Some were my fault, admittedly. Yeah, it was just, I guess it's fine, okay, at the moment as compared to before. I mean, still, I believe Orisa and Zarya are still a bit overkill in their abilities. Like the fact that I you know, it's pretty much our own fault anytime Zarya gets overpowered with her bubble and her like laser weapon because we're the ones that are powering up. You know, we're not we're not supposed to be shooting at her when she has her bubble, but I mean, in the heat of the moment when she's like in the middle of a crowd trying to, I guess, blend in with their teammates, trying to, you know, get the most amount of damage output as possible, it makes things worse for us because now we're getting the bad end of the stick. She gets powered up, she gets overpowered, she gets single healed by Mercy or by any other healer, and now we're the ones losing. And it's always overkill every time we lost. Like the map on Brazil, or the Rio de Janeiro one, that was just horrible. It was completely horrible. It was bad. To the point where one of our teammates just straight up just quit. And it was not good. It was not good.
I don't like the heroes that are like that, where like you can't damage them because they benefit from your damage. So you're just kind of like, oh, she put her bubble up. Now I'm just kind of here in front of her, can't do anything, and then you just die because obviously she can damage you, but you can't damage her. And it's not like you can run away because then she just chases you. She's really annoying.
I agree, and it's just, I don't know. And then Orisa, like the last game we were playing on, it was not Oasis. What was it? I forgot. But it's the one with the huge downhill thing with the huge uphill, like at the start of the map with the rocket and all this stuff. That map with Orisa, jeez, man, on attack it was just difficult just to like try to win. I don't know how they do it with Orisa. Like Orisa mains, I used to be an Orisa main, kind of, not really, but kind of. It was just difficult just to win, anytime because for some reason they just allow damage to be blocked. Well, with when she spins her javelin, and then she activates her shield, which only allows for more damage to be mitigated from, and it's just an overall it makes things worse for all of us. IMO. And yeah, it's not fun. It's not fun.
I
You know,
will. I will
it is what
add
it is.
to the whole Life Weaver thing. I'll basically just say it here, but I've been saying it to these guys since we like got the reveal of him. Uh, I'm not the biggest fan of his kit because it just like this is gonna kind of sound weird, especially because every hero's kit is kind of, or not every hero, but like every support hero's kit kind of has like the same purpose in a way. But like I don't really like Lifeweaver's kit too much because first off, it's kind of real confusing, like he has all these sort of different abilities that I'm just kind of confused by, especially like how they play into one another. Like Ana, Sleep, and Anti can easily play well into each other. And I know as people learn Lifeweaver more, they're going to be able to learn how to work his abilities together. But like, to me, they're just so different. Like he has a dash to kind of back himself away if he's getting attacked. He has a platform he could place that could raise people up. He has a life grip ability, which means he can like pull his teammates back. So like, let's say they're overextending in the fight, he can pull them back and all that. Which that ability in itself has already been proving to be a problem, as you have so many of these players that are like, especially tank players who are like doing their job as a tank, and then the Lifeweaver just keeps like pulling them back out of like fear that they're overextending. And the worst one I saw was this diva was in a team fight and she goes to use her ult and Lifeweaver pulled the ult back to where he was, and so it got no kills. And it was so bad that the entire enemy team stopped and looked at the diva basically to say like, did he really just do that? But my biggest, like, I wouldn't say complaint, but just the thing that like I just don't really like, because I can kind of see the foreshadowing already with it, is that Lifeweaver's kit fits the role of the name support more than all the other supports, really. And by that I mean, you look at all the other supports and what is their main sort of goal? Healing. Lucio's main goal is to heal, especially with his ult, to provide that extra bit, of health. Moira's coalescence, puts out obviously damage and healing, but like you can, it's a big boost of damage. And then also all her other abilities are, healing focus. She can damage and she has to damage in order to heal, but she's still a healer at heart. Ana's the same way, where she can do damage, but her main role is always going to be, sticking and healing those teams and then anti-ing the other team from preventing them to heal. Brigitte, I mean, she's AoE healing, area of effect, so her main goal isn't healing at the moment, she seems more damage focused, but she can still heal. Baptiste, same with Ana and Moira, does a little bit of both. Obviously, all the support heroes do a little bit of both. They're supposed to be doing a little bit of both, healing and damaging, but like, you look at their kits, it's all healing focused. You look at Lifeweaver's kit, it's not really healing focused. His healing is real slow, especially if you want to get like a bunch of like, if you want to give a huge amount of healing out, you need to charge it up, and it takes a while. And even when you throw it out, it doesn't do much healing. His ultimate is, healing based somewhat, but like, I'm gonna be honest, when I was playing him and I put that ult down, it really didn't seem like it was doing much, and it especially doesn't do much when the enemy team has a Bastion and just shreds it down like nothing. And he has, like, in comparison to all the other supports, he has crazy damage output. That platform pedal can come into handy with, like, certain cases of helping other DPS and getting himself into position and all that. And it just seems like, oh, and then when he dies, he drops like a little bit of healing, which, it's like, but it can go to either team. And so it's like, his kit just comes off very much as he's a support and not a healer first. And I know that's supposed to be the whole point of the support role, is like they're not supposed to be just healers, but like Lifeweaver really comes off as more of a support character than one who's meant to be healing like all the others. And it just kind of signals me that they're giving that whole support role a try again, because they tried to do it with Symmetra and it didn't work out, and they stopped attempting to make it work after that. Like they never once tried to do another hero that was like support like Symmetra was with her shield and all that. But like with Lifeweaver, it just kind of hints at me to like, yeah, they're thinking about doing it again, you know, like they're trying to look into how they can implement more characters like this where their main goal isn't healing and they provide support in other ways, like damage, like, you know, helping your team get into certain positions, being able to pull them back out of fights and all that. And the annoying part about that is that they're like invulnerable for a little bit, so like it's annoying. And then the one thing that's really annoying that I'll finish up here real quick because time is ticking down. Gio brought it up. The whole rank thing is really annoying. They said they were taking out rank decay, that you would, whatever you finished off with, you would be at that rank at starting the next season. No more of this having to work your way back up, and so people who are, you know, who were in like platinum lobbies are now in silver lobbies going against actual silver players, and there's an obvious diff, you know. And the annoying part is that, you know, it's one thing I've said on this podcast a lot, at least like for the most part, you know, at least when the game was coming out, Overwatch 2, Blizzard seemed a lot more vocal with the community, like telling them, you know, oh yeah, we know about this and this, here's when we'll get it done. But as time goes on, they've just really started slacking in that department. Like, we see a lot of these different interviews and all that, but like when it comes to like issues in the game, it's like they're starting to take more and more time and be less vocal about their work on it. And that was no more clear than when they came out with the announcement like, oh yeah, we see the whole issue about, you know, people's ranks not being where they're supposed to, even though there was rank decay. We're going to fix it. We're even going to give you more competitive points to make up for it. But it's not coming until like a month later. How does that help the players? In a month's time, most of these people will have worked themselves back to their original rank, you know, to where they left off, and some will even pass it, you know. A month's time worth of competitive games, you're going to be at the rank you were or past it at that point, you know. So this whole thing of, oh, the fix is going to take a month, like, what does that do for the players, you know? I don't know, that just really annoys me. Like, I don't know.
I saw a thing, Flats was talking about it, and he said that as long as people got the correct rewards, that there was no need for them to fix it. So it's literally just like, gameplay-wise, it's kind of pointless, because why wait? You could just grind it yourself and get back to where you need to be, if you actually do deserve to be there. Otherwise, it's kind of like, how do you say, it's literally just for the purpose of, like, for your record. Because if it's just the record, but they don't care. It's literally whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's to hoping for, you know, more change, more, I don't really know at this point, like more involvement in a sense. But yeah, Overwatch Season 4 so far, what would you guys say? Decent?
It's pretty underwhelming.
Yeah, I don't like it as much as compared to Season 1.
Because when Kiriko dropped, bro, the hype was real. Now it's kind of dead.
Yeah.
The character is dead. It's literally Ramatra 2.0. Drop-wise, like, with the hype and everything.
Ramatra had hype, but then the moment he dropped it, like, the hype went down.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the same. Well, actually, I can't even say it's the same to here. Lifeweaver just didn't really have that much hype at all. And that was their fault. They waited till, like, days before. Anyways, I've been Jack, joined by
Giovanni.
Giovanni.
Thank you all for joining for this episode, and we'll catch you on the next one.